back to another video. For today's video, we are going to be filming a week's worth of dinner recipes. These are recipes that I actually cook on like a week-to-week basis, so kind of my go-to recipes, plus a few new fun ones that I'm going to be trying out, and recipes that are just healthy and balanced and will make you feel like really good and healthy and all that jazz. Y'all know that I love flavor and ethnic cuisine, so it's going to be kind of like a balance and mix of all those things. I'm probably going to take you guys through about 4 different meals that I make throughout the week. We eat at home about 4 days out of the week. Let's get into the first recipe of this video. So for today's dinner, I'm gonna be making some like carne asada street tacos. This is such a simple and quick recipe, and I'm gonna be using my boxed halal beef stew pieces for this particular recipe. And for all these recipes, I'm using boxed halal meats. So thank you so much to Boxed Halal for sponsoring this video. If you guys don't know what Boxed Halal is, they basically deliver halal meat right to your doorstep, and you can always trust the quality of these meats and the source. They are humanely raised with no antibiotics or anything like that. I have used Boxed Halal many times in the past, and I've always been very happy with the quality of their meats. And you guys know that I hate having to make separate trips to the grocery store in order to get my halal meat. It's not necessarily a very close drive for me. I also have a discount code. You can use my code Dina Hussein to get 15% off, which is such a great deal. But let's get this meat prepped and seasoned. I went ahead and cut the pieces into even smaller cubes so that they cook nice and fast and are that like traditional carne asada size. I'm gonna season with a nice amount of garlic powder, white pepper. I like white pepper for beef. I don't know why. A little bit of red chili powder for the desi side of me. A little bit of seasoned salt and some normal salt, of course. A little bit of avocado oil to help mix it all together. Okay, so I'm gonna let the meat just sit for like 10 minutes or so while I chop my veggies for the toppings. Guys, this recipe is literally so easy. You could even add a little more like pico de gallo if you want to spice it up a little bit. I just forgot to get tomatoes, so we're just doing like the chopped onion, cilantro, and jalapenos. Then I'll get started cooking on the meat. So I'm going to sear the meat on this kind of like lined, grated, grilled, whatever pan. And I have the heat at about like a medium high to get that nice sear. But I don't want to burn it. I still want to cook it through and through. Probably going to be a couple minutes on each side or until the meat reaches about 145 degrees internal temperature. A meat thermometer has really changed my life, especially with meats that I'm more unfamiliar with. If you are scared to like make steaks or just any meat in general, get you a meat thermometer and check the thickest part of the meat as you cook, so you can make sure you don't overcook it or undercook it and it's cooked just perfectly. And I am going to add more oil to prevent any sticking of the meat. And again, I like to use avocado oil, especially for like searing and high cook point heating, because as you can see, it smokes really well. Here is what the steak is looking like. It has a nice golden brown color, and it's a little more than 145, but I'd rather have overcooked than undercooked, but I do think it's just like perfectly cooked. I love salsa verde, green salsa, so we're trying out this brand today. It smells pretty nice. Okay, so these look gorgeous. Again, maybe with a little pico de gallo, a little guac, they can be so even better. Some black beans too. The nice cold poppy. This is the classic cola flavor. So let's try a little bite. The salsa, the cilantro. Ooh, I forgot to put lime. That beef turned out so tender. the perfect amount of flavor. It's not too overpowering. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. That was like one of the quickest dinners I've ever done. It takes like maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You can also serve this with some soft corn tortillas or flour tortillas. We were just kind of in the mood to switch it up, so that's why we did the hard shell. I'm gonna go enjoy my dinner and my puppy, and I will see you for the next meal. It's 2 days later, but we are on to the next meal, and I'm very excited for today's meal because I am cooking a rack of lamb or lamb ribs. I just love anything ribs, lamb, braised, barbecued, whatever. And it's the first time I'm trying this particular recipe, so I'm like following an actual recipe, which I will link for sure in the description. But the thing that I love about like ribs or chops is that the meat itself is the star of the show, and it has so much flavor, and there's not really a lot that you have to do to it. It just sometimes takes a while. So these ribs are gonna cook low and slow in the oven. So right now I just need to get them prepped. And of course, these are also from Boxed Halal, just some Denver lamb ribs. So I've been letting them thaw all day, and they feel right about at room temperature. Remove the membrane and just kind of get them pat nice and dry. So comes with 2 racks. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the membrane now, which is on the bone side down. So I believe the easiest way to do this is to just take your knife, and so you have to get a good grip on it, and you kind of just peel back. I think using a paper towel might be easier, so I'm gonna do this real quick and then I will report back. Okay, so I removed the membrane. That took a little longer than I wanted it to. Now I'm gonna just generously season both sides of these racks with salt and pepper. For like thicker cuts of meat, I like to use coarse ground salt because I just feel like it gets that flavor for sure. Now I'm gonna double wrap these in some parchment paper and then aluminum foil on top. And we have to do the meaty side up, so just keep that in mind when we place it in the oven. Yeah, when I have meat hands, I'm not touching anything. So these are gonna go in the oven for I think an hour and 45 minutes for the first part, and then after that's done, we're gonna brush it with our sticky honey garlic sauce. I'm gonna kind of clean up the counter and then we'll get started on making the sauce. For the sauce, we're gonna start off by chopping 3 cloves of garlic. So I've actually never chopped rosemary, so I'm just gonna assume I'm only supposed to do the leaves. Wow, it smells so good. I should make rosemary hair oil with this. That'd be genius. Fresh honey smells so good. 3/4 cup of that. I personally might do like half a cup. I'm kind of like scared of a lot of honey. I don't know why. And lastly, we're gonna go in with half a tablespoon of olive oil. So I'm just gonna eyeball this. Let it mix. Okay, so we still got like an hour and a half until I need to brush it with this honey garlic sauce. Until then, I am just going to relax. I might take a nap because I went to bed probably around 12 last night and got up at 6:30. I went on a run. Like, I've had a really great productive day. And even though I've had 2 coffees, I'm really tired. I might as well nap while these are cooking. I'm gonna probably nap on the couch though, because I am way too afraid to go upstairs while any like heat source is turned on. So like worst case, God forbid, the house catches on fire. Hopefully I'll wake up from my nap on the couch. Also, random, I've restarted watching Gossip Girl. It's been nearly 10 years since I watched it, and I have a lot of like teenage drama and growing pains associated with that show, but I'm finally at a place where it's like I'm emotionally stable to watch it, and it is so entertaining. So I might reward myself by watching that show. I will catch up with you in about an hour and a half. Be satisfied with how much they've cooked so far. They have come up to temp, and we're gonna go ahead and brush the sauce. I decided to trim some of the excess fat off because there's like a huge layer of just like fat. I want the flavor to like touch the actual meat rather than the fat. Then we pop these back in the oven for another 20 to 25 minutes. And I'll probably broil them at the very end for like the last 5 minutes. Anytime you want to get kind of like that crust or caramelization, using sugar or honey is what achieves that, like in barbecue sauce too. It's just kind of like a little food science thing. But at the same time, sugar and honey can burn very quickly, so you just have to keep a close eye on the oven or the grill or whatever you're cooking in. So for my sides, I'm kind of just using whatever I have to make something on the side because I feel like the ribs are so filling and they're just kind of like the main character, obviously. But I am gonna make just some plain sticky white rice and a little chickpea side salad. Some just garbanzo chickpeas here. I'm gonna chop up some green bell pepper, jalapeno, some cilantro, red onion, and just do my typical lemon juice olive oil dressing. If I had tomatoes, I think that would be a great addition, but let's just quickly put this salad together. Whenever I use a red onion, I never use the whole thing, and so it just gets chopped up in the funniest ways. I think it'll be the perfect little fresh side to these heavy ribs. Turn the broiler on for 5 minutes, but I am gonna check it periodically to make sure it's not burning. Guys, these look so good and beautiful, but I have to let them rest before we dig in. They're very hot.
That's really good.
So it's super, I would say it's pretty tender. Maybe a little more sauce or like flavor or something, but the meat itself is good. Pretty gorgeous. It's the next meal, and today I'm gonna be making a desi chicken curry, chicken karahi, just some sort of like saucy chicken dish. These types of dishes are actually really easy to achieve. It could be kind of daunting to try to make a dish from a different culture, especially like Indian, Pakistani culture, because the flavors are so strong and bold. But I'm gonna show you how I do it. So I've washed a bunch of my veggies, and you guys know that I like to lay out all of my spices and ingredients and just kind of like organize everything before I start putting things on the stove. This just makes the cooking process so much more seamless. So the first thing I'm gonna do is chop up all the veggies and kind of get that started in the pot so that it can come to a saucy consistency. I want the tomatoes to break down and kind of melt. Getting kind of like that saucy curry consistency is to use something like tomatoes that hold a lot of liquid and let them cook or like simmer down. You don't want to like boil all the liquid out of them, but you also don't want this to be a soup, so you kind of have to find the right balance. So I'll be like adjusting the heat as I go on. Another little tip I have for especially desi cooking is to pre-make your ginger garlic paste in batches. I know that they sell the jars of ginger paste or garlic paste, but I just feel like fresh is always best. I just put it in a random Tupperware, and I have like just enough for this recipe. Yeah, for this type of cooking with like sauces and stuff, I've gotten way too many stains on my clothes, so we're wearing an apron. So I'm adding enough oil to kind of cover the bottom of the pan. and put it on like honestly a low heat to let all of the tomatoes cook down. So it's been about 10 minutes and she's reduced a good amount, but I still want the tomatoes to melt a bit more. But now I'm gonna add in my spices and let that toast down for at least 5 more minutes. Now I'm just going to cube up my chicken, of course my box halal chicken breast. This is one product from them that I've always been so impressed with, because you know when you buy chicken from the grocery store and you can just tell that it's like full of antibiotics and it's just so much like larger than a normal chicken breast should be. I feel like these are super fresh, natural, and I just like trust them, and they've always tasted really yummy. So I just increased the heat to like a medium high and added the chicken back in. I'm gonna let it kind of saute, get that chickeny smell out, and I might even add a little bit of water to cover and cook it, and so that the sauce doesn't get too dry or too thick. I'm also going to just make some plain white rice. Not gonna lie, I feel like I kind of snapped off with this. It's giving restaurant, it's giving what you would get for takeout. So as always, let's do a little taste test. That's really good. I love cilantro. Fresh herbs in a dish like this are everything. The chicken turned out super tender since I cooked it on a low and slow heat. I'm just so excited to eat. I have my rice almost done. It's just kind of like fluffing up. Yeah, that is my chicken curry recipe. And the next recipe will be the last recipe of the video. It's the last dinner recipe of the video. And today we're making kofta, or beef kebabs. This is like traditionally a Middle Eastern dish, but I think like every country in the Middle Eastern, even like South Asian culture, has its own twist on this dish. But I'm gonna be making kind of like what my Palestinian mother-in-law makes, so it's definitely the Middle Eastern vibe today. Got some potatoes, tomatoes, onion, and ground beef, and this is going to be a 1-tray baked dish. So this is another very easy recipe, but it's also super flavorful and delicious, and I can truly say it's one of our go-to recipes due to the ease of it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just chop all the veggies, and then I will make the meat mix and all of that. For the potatoes, I'm gonna do them kind of in like French fry-esque chunks, and for the tomatoes, I'm gonna chop them very thinly so that they kind of like crisp up and just give a really nice fresh flavor. And obviously we gotta do some onion. So let's go ahead and get all this chopped up and laid out on our baking tray. Also, I'm using gold potatoes. These are my favorite. I just feel like they're so velvety and buttery, and they just turn out the yummiest. Usually when I eat it, there's like a saucy component to it. So to make that sauce, I just mixed tahini paste, lemon juice, and a few different spices, and a little bit of olive oil. When it bakes, it just comes out so rich and creamy and yummy. So I mix it with Kashmiri red chili powder, a good amount of seasoned salt. So this is some kofta seasoning that my mother-in-law gave me. It's from overseas, but I'm sure at any Middle Eastern store you can find a similar seasoning blend. Add definitely a good amount of that. Pepper, salt. I'm just gonna use avocado oil. So as usual, I'm using the box halal ground beef. This is an 85 to 15% fat or lean to fat ratio, which I found works really well for my kofta. I've used this specific meat for kofta multiple times, so definitely trustworthy. And I'm using 2 of these today. I'm just going to mix in basically the same seasonings as before. We're gonna add a good amount of this kofta seasoning, seasoned salt, a little bit of Kashmiri red chili powder, of course, just a little bit of normal salt, and give that all a really good mix. Now we are gonna form them into little I don't even know what you would call these. About that large of a piece, and spread them evenly across both of these trays. I just decided to fit everything on one tray, that way it'll all cook evenly. Add a little bit of water to this, just kind of thin it out. Again, as it cooks, it'll all thicken. Try my best to evenly pour this across everything. I usually let those cook for about 40 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven. At around 30 minutes, I'm gonna check on them just to make sure they look good, and then let them go basically until 40 minutes. But the last 2 minutes, I will probably put it on broil as per usual to let everything kind of crispen up and just really develop that color and flavor. A little bite of everything. Probably could get a little more beef. Let's do a little taste test of everything. Cooked to perfection. So good. The potatoes just kind of like melt in your mouth. And I'm really happy with the sauce to meat ratio also. So again, that's such an easy recipe. Everything on one pan. Prep works maybe 30 minutes. And then 40 minutes in the oven. And I also really like how this recipe has like protein, veggies, and carbs all in one. So like I don't have to make rice. I could make a salad. In fact, I probably will make a salad later because I just like salad on my sides. But yeah, super duper easy. But yeah, guys, that concludes my week of dinner recipes video. I hope you got some great inspiration and try out some of these recipes. And don't forget to check out Boxed Halal for your halal meat needs. It's super convenient that they deliver it right to your doorstep from, you know, trustworthy full sources, no hormones, no antibiotics, and it's halal. And if you do decide to order, don't forget to use my discount code Dina Hussein for 15% off your order. So comment down below if you try out any of these recipes. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much to Boxed Halal for sponsoring this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.